to episode 126 of Nothing to Say, the Bands podcast. Apologies in advance for my nasally tone. I have bad allergies, and it's just been a rough week. So when it came to allergies, and I forgot to take my Zyrtec today, so I am fighting an uphill battle. Sam, how was your week?
It sounds like it was better than yours. Just a couple 3 a.m. shifts, and
I was gonna say I didn't have to get up at 3.
and last night was tough. I couldn't fall asleep until 11. And when you know that you're waking up at that 2 o'clock range, you're just in tough, deep water at that point. And then you think about it more and more.
Yeah, I've had to do that for the military, and I feel like you're almost in a state of panic to get sleep. Like you're almost worried that you're like worry yourself that you're not going to get enough sleep, and therefore you end up, staying awake longer than maybe you would on the night where, or not falling asleep as quickly as you would if you had nothing going on the next morning.
Yeah, it's because that anxiety just keeps you up longer and longer, and you know that it's important that you go to sleep early. It just doesn't work out. It's tough, but I got through it. It's all good.
Yeah. Before we get started, one of the things that I wanted to do was read a stat about Tom Brady. Now, we know that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, but sometimes his longevity, it's hard to kind of perceive. So let me just read you what they posted. So on February 3rd, 2002, Tom Brady won his first ring, right? Next year, on April 26th, 2003, Troy Polamalu was drafted. So Brady won a Super Bowl the year before Troy was drafted, right? So Polamalu's career was from 2003 to 2014. That was his career. And then he retired in 2015. So he was drafted in 2003 and he retired in 2015. From 2015, after Troy retired, to 2019, Brady won 3 more rings with the Patriots. Troy then got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2020. And then the year after that, Brady won his 7th ring. So not only did Brady win a ring before Troy was drafted, he won a ring after he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that, for me, when I was reading that stat, just kind of blew my mind and really put into perspective how freaking long Tom Brady has been playing.
And they just dunked on Troy Polamalu's career.
I mean, Troy had a great career, but I mean, it's one of those things where it just puts into perspective how crazy this run has been for Brady.
We've been knowing that, Jason.
Yeah. So
and it's still going.
Oh yeah. And there's no good reason why you wouldn't say that he couldn't win another one. He hasn't shown any sign that there's a reason to believe that is impossible. So, all right. So last little bit from the NFL. Bobby Wagner, the stud linebacker that you all know from the Seattle Seahawks, has signed with the Los Angeles Rams. I'm pulling up the contract details at the moment. I don't know where the Rams are getting all of this money, but he signed a 5-year, $50 million deal with the Rams. So now on the defensive side of the ball, they have somebody at every level. They have Aaron Donald, they have Bobby Wagner, and they have Jalen Ramsey. And there you go. So I guess maybe losing Von Miller wasn't the biggest hit in the world.
Yeah, I think they upgraded at that with that replacement. I think Bobby Wagner right now is still playing at a higher level than Von Miller is. He was All-Pro last year, 2 years ago. He was second team All-Pro last year, right? He's still one of the best middle linebackers in the game right now.
So I know that all the attention has really been focused on, Rodgers and Devontae and
Russell
Wilson and Tyreek Hill, those names. But if we look quietly at LA, I mean, they added Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner. Those are 2 big big names they added on both sides of the ball to a team that just won the Super Bowl. I mean,
Yeah.
right now with those additions, is it safe to say that the Rams are definitely the best team in the NFC?
Yeah, I think easily with Green Bay losing key pieces, Tampa Bay losing key pieces and losing Bruce Arians, the Niners being a little shaky at quarterback. I think it's easily the Rams conference to win.
I agree. I 100% agree. That addition, especially one domino that hasn't fallen yet, is the OBJ thing. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep him. I don't know if they necessarily need to, but if they can find a way, that would be huge. I mean, their wide receiver core would be something the likes of which the NFL has maybe never seen.
Yeah, who knows if he wants to go to that position because he'd probably fall into that third receiver range in the pecking order. And who knows if he would really want to do that. Maybe that's the perfect situation for him coming off of an ACL tear to really find himself again in that offense and really put himself in position for big money next year. But the Rams might be I think they're pretty strapped for cash at this point. I didn't know they had this move in them.
Well, don't forget Robert Woods too.
He's out.
Is he going to be?
He's in Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, he moved to Tennessee. That's right. But even so, having Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson, if they were somehow able to keep OBJ, I mean that if OBJ comes back and is a serviceable wide receiver in that sense after his injury, which let's hope he is, those three, that is a scary trio of wide receivers. Like very, very scary.
They still have a little space. It's looking like they have about 8 million.
Yeah, I guess
year.
I thought, at least when I was at work, I saw the contract, and initially I didn't take a deep dive into it, but just looking a little bit more at the numbers, I guess 5 years for 50 mil. I mean, he's only making $10 million a year at that point, and I don't know if there are any contract incentives or anything like that, but maybe that's not as bad as everybody's making it. I mean, everything that I saw initially, the reaction was, where the heck are they getting all this cap space? But I guess it's maybe not as bad as people realize.
I'm a little puzzled by the number of years. Just with Von Miller, I think Bobby Wagner's only 31, but a position like that is so tough on your body. I don't know if he lasts the length of this contract.
We shall see. So the only reason why I'm going to push us off of this is because there is a gigantic game happening Saturday in the world of college basketball. We had to do the NFL stuff first because that stuff was very, well, especially the Bobby Wagner stuff that pretty much just happened. So by the time this gets released, that'll be in the past. So let's jump right to what's going to be maybe the game of the year, just in terms on any level, college, NBA, NFL. We'll see. Could be. It certainly has the history of being the biggest game of 2022, and that is the Duke North Carolina game, which I work on Saturdays, and I haven't been working super late, but I know for a fact I'm going to be working as fast as I possibly can to get home on Saturday. I already told Bree, I was like, we're not doing anything Saturday. I'm watching this game. So I have an article here from the Washington Post that has a bunch of numbers on the Duke North Carolina rivalry. And some of them are really, really fascinating. So let me just read everything that I read from, at least right now, is all coming from the Washington Post. So I have to put that out there just, don't want anybody banging down our door saying these are our stats and we stole them from the Washington Post. So Duke and North Carolina have met 257 times in just one of the college basketball's greatest rivalries. So right here it says North Carolina leads the series 142-115. The Tar Heels won both the first game. I'm quoting. It's an interesting sentence, but it says the Tar Heels won both the first game between the rivals in 1920, a 36-25 victory when Duke was still known as Trinity College, and they also won the latest contest in a convincing 94-81 victory at Cameron Indoor Stadium, which was Krzyzewski's last home game. So neither team has played any opponent more often than each other. So with that being said, I already said that North Carolina has 142 wins against the other as opposed to Duke's 115. In terms of the Mike Krzyzewski era, Duke is actually 50-49 against North Carolina. So the Tar Heels have won more. The Tar Heels have more Final Four appearances than Duke, which is they actually have a record of 21, and Duke has 17. But actually, Duke has slightly more ACC tournament titles. They have 21, and North Carolina has 18. And together, they have 39 of the 68 ACC tournament titles. And then the last number that I have for you right here, and this one is probably my favorite. This says a third of all games between the two programs have been decided by 5 points or less. More than half have ended with a final margin of less or of 10 or less. The overall average scoring margin between the two schools is just 1.1 points in North Carolina's favor. So it says 14 of their games have required overtime. Duke has a 10-4 record in those games. So, we're talking about a rivalry that goes back 100 years. Duke in North Carolina. This game means everything to these programs, the former players, the fans, everything. And I've heard a lot of different narratives about this game on ESPN. So I just want to ask you a couple questions about some of my favorite ones that I heard from ESPN this week. So one of the questions was for Duke and North Carolina, let's say obviously one of them is going to the national championship game. Is this Final Four game bigger than that national championship game? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is in scope with all the different storylines heading in with Coach K, obviously, in the last meeting that they had. I think this game is going to maybe eclipse and overshadow the national championship game a little bit.
I agree. And so since I'm asking the question, so you were a part of a very, very successable volleyball team at Roseville, and I often
I don't know how this is going to be compared at all.
No, don't worry, I got you. I got you. So Sam and I, for those of you that don't know, if you watch the show, you know, but we went to the same high school together, and Sam was a part of the boys volleyball program, and they were by far the best team at Roseville for our 4 years that we were at Roseville. They had the most success. They were so much fun to watch. So who was your biggest rival that you played against? Was it Bellarmine?
No. It probably would have been Whitney. We played them the most because we played them twice a year in the regular season. The championships always came down to us two sections. We played them 2 out of the 3 years in the section finals. So I think it'd be them. If anyone knows the greater Sacramento area pretty well, then Whitney High School, I guess, was our rival for volleyball for sure.
Okay, so you guys ended up winning state for volleyball.
NorCal.
Oh, you won NorCal. Sorry,
because there wasn't a state for boys volleyball. I still don't think there's a state for men's volleyball for high school.
Really? That's interesting. Either way, we're talking about a program, I mean, two programs in Duke and North Carolina that have this huge rivalry. They've been very successful. So us from the outside looking in can say, yes, this game is probably going to be bigger than the national championship game. But as somebody who was in a very competitive league against, and not the Whitney was a good team. We need to make that clear. They were a good team as well. Would a game against them, would beating them in a playoff scenario like this, let's say there was an identical format and you guys both fell on the same bracket and you were playing against Whitney, and if you win, you go to the championship game. From a player's perspective, going into the game, do you think that the game against Whitney, beating them, would be more meaningful than anything else?
Well, I think look at it like this. So for our last year, we beat Whitney in the section finals, which was huge in itself. It's definitely a different format because you're you're like winning a title and then continuing on in playoffs for high school sports, but you're still advancing, right, with this win. So technically, once you get higher, it should be more and more of importance. So we beat Whitney High School, which is by far our biggest rival, yada yada yada, at their place as well. And that win was so much greater than winning the next round against De La Salle, just a team that we have no history with. But theoretically, the win against De La Salle should be of more importance because you're advancing farther and farther in the tournament. That's the way I would think about it if I was a player of Duke or UNC. It's like this game is what they're really going to truly remember. I think this is the game that's going to be talked about if they're looking back and reminiscing. If either of these two teams go on to win this championship, I think this is the game that's like, man, this is the one that we look at. This is the one that we're sharing memories from. This is the one that comes up immediately.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think of in high school that was relatively similar that I was a part of was Roseville versus Wood Creek when it came to the basketball games. But my sophomore year, when I was up on varsity, was the only time that I was really a part of that rivalry because it wasn't the same freshman year, even just being on JV as a freshman, it wasn't nearly the same. But when we played Wood Creek my sophomore year, they were way better than us. Like they had two college players on their team. One is playing professional basketball in Europe right now. They were way better than us. So I don't think anybody. I mean, we went into that game going, we're going to give it like we're going to go in to win. But at the end of the day, they were just too good. They were too good. Actually, no, they had three college players on that team. I'm sorry, they have three college players on that team. So we were just overmatched. I mean, we gave it our best swing, but we were overmatched. And then our other rival would have been Oakland, and we were always better than Oakland in basketball and football. So I started thinking about, as a fan, like what could I comp it to? And actually, just recently with the Raiders, I would say that going into the game against the Chargers and then playing the Bengals, even if the Raiders had beat the Bengals, the win against the Chargers to knock them out of the playoffs and to get the Raiders in, that was the playoff game. Like that game meant more. That yes, beating the Bengals would have been great, but to watch Carr with 5 seconds left, they zoom in on his face and he's got that smug grin because he knows he's going to call timeout right at the 2-second mark, and because Carlson's going to walk in and send him to the playoffs. Like that felt so much better knowing that that was against the Chargers than just whether it had been against, Pittsburgh. So I totally agree with the narrative that this game is going to mean more to everybody than the national champ. Not to say that the national championship game won't be important, but there is something to be said about playing against your rival, and in this case, 100-year-old rival. So I agree. I think this game is going to be built up to be this monumental, just I don't even know what to call it. There are very few adjectives that can probably describe this game in its totality.
And for Coach K's perspective, do you think it almost caps off his career if he's able to get this win against UNC? And even if Duke doesn't win the national championship, if he gets this win against UNC, do you think that really is the send off?
So, we've been doing this for a couple of years together now. We just work well together. That was my next narrative question that I was going to ask you, because one of the points that Greeny took was that he was saying that this was the worst possible scenario for Krzyzewski under any circumstance. So his thought process, and hear me out, and I want to talk about this, is that Duke making it to the Final Four in Coach K's final season is just magical in and of itself. Getting to the Final Four is a fantastic accomplishment, especially, and it means just so much more because it's his last season. So he was making the argument that if it had gone a different way and they were playing Kansas or they were playing Villanova, and it was like, okay, they get knocked out in the Final Four, it's still kind of a happy ending because they made it to the Final Four in his final season.
Right.
And his argument was that because they're playing North Carolina, if they lose, it ruins everything. Like completely ruins to lose this game. And the only time that they'd ever met in the playoffs or in the NCAA tournament, to lose that game to North Carolina in his final season, he was like, he can't retire. He's got to come back. And I hear the argument for that. It would be a horrific loss if they lose this game in his final season. But that to be the last one. But man, there's the other side that if they win, oh man, that would have to be his best win in his career. He's won like 5 national championships. That's got to be at the top of the list, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 things for me there. Like you said, with this team making it to the Final Four, Duke has flamed out in NCAA tournaments. That's like their reputation. Yeah, Coach K has those major wins with, it's got to be something like 5 national championships. But in the last couple decades, there are some huge disappointments and flameouts. Just looking back to the RJ Barrett, Zion, Cam Reddish team, that's insane with 3 top 10 draft picks, and they ended up getting knocked out before the Final Four. This is a huge accomplishment for him. But with that, with the level of, I'm assuming, competitor that Coach K is, he can't be this successful without being ultra competitive. I gotta think he wanted this to happen, to get an opportunity to play UNC. You don't win anything without taking risks, and this is a huge risk to the end and the legacy of his last season. But if it works out, it is so awesome, and
it's a legendary win.
The amount of elation that comes with this win is, it's uncharted. I think it's greater than if they weren't to play UNC and he wins a national championship. I think this might even be a little more poetic of a way if they're able to get this done.
So I want to talk about the player side of this for a second, because you and I both played sports for a very, very long time. We both played in some very high pressure games. You had the biggest out of the 2 of us, but we both played in very significant and meaningful games for one reason or another. And I was thinking about this today when I was at work, because I knew we were going to be talking about this. And there's always, when you go into a game, because I should back this up, and I should preface this with one of the discussions on ESPN was how much pressure there's going to be on the Duke players to get this win for Coach K.
I literally have that written down.
Yeah, so that was one of their talking points, and I really do think that is something that's an interesting side of this, because the more that I started to think about it, I realized kind of when you go into a game, or at least let me speak for myself on this. When I went into a game, there's always, yes, pressure to win, right? There's always, whether it's outside or internal, you're always thinking about winning. You're never thinking about losing. You're always, always, always thinking about winning. So yes, there's pressure to win. And I think this would be different well, actually, I know this would be different if this wasn't Coach K's last season. But because it is, now what you got to be thinking about as a player is, yes, there is pressure, an enormous amount of pressure in this game, also because they're favored. They're the favorite in this game. But now, with it being Krzyzewski's last year, you don't want to lose it for him. So there's pressure on both sides. When I guess normally, yes, there's always pressure to lose, but you're not necessarily thinking about that as a player. You're thinking about the pressure to win. But you cannot ignore the fact that if you lose this game, you're the team that lost Krzyzewski's last game. Oh, by the way, and it was against North Carolina. So there is pressure on both sides, which is unique to a sporting event, because I think as an athlete, you go into it just thinking about the pressure to win, not the inherent pressure to not lose.
Yeah, especially in this one and done era. If you think about it, I mean, these players aren't thinking about staying for 4 years at Duke and really making that legacy. This is their 1 to 2 year range where they're using Duke as sort of that stepping stone to get into the NBA. But now it's like, this is greater than them. This is greater than this team. This is
much bigger than them.
The legacy that Coach K has, which he is, I think, established as one of the greatest college coaches in history, right? For basketball.
Yeah, he'd be on a Mount Rushmore of like.
Yeah, him, Wooten, John Wooten, and like a bunch of dudes, right? But he's great. And they weren't even born for some of those seasons.
Yeah.
But all of that greatness is heaped onto this one moment, because it's that expectation. Is it fair to the players? Probably not. What I think is going for them is that loss that they took at Cameron Hayward Stadium.
Really?
Cameron Indoor. Because I think that actually allows them to not put this as, we need to win. It's almost like, oh, we're getting revenge for that game because we were embarrassed in that game. And I think they learned a lot from that game, because I think it was kind of obvious that they kind of succumbed to the pressure. That was a huge moment. That game was being talked about more than any game similar to this. And it was like, you guys have to win this game. Now it's, oh, we need to go out and beat UNC. They're no longer, the focus isn't we can't lose. Now it's, we need to beat UNC. That's where the focus shifts. And I think that really helps for Duke's favor. That's how I would spin it as a player.
Yeah, the revenge game. And you could spin it in favor of like because you can't take out the Coach K thing. So
it's there.
You could as players, you could spin it in like, hey, we're the team who lost Coach K's last home game at our stadium. We're sure as hell not going to be the team that loses to North Carolina in the NCAA tournament with his final season. Ain't no way we're going to be the team that does both of those things.
Right.
And Coach K is not saying that. He's not looking at his players and going, yeah, I mean, my reputation is established. You need to go win this for me. He ain't saying that. But that discussion is for sure happening in the locker room. There's no way it's not. There's no way.
You know, it's happening. It's with the former players.
Oh,
they could be heaping that pressure in the media and all the alumni that came from Duke. It's like Coach K is trying to release as much pressure he's probably going through. Hey guys, we've had a great year. We know we can beat this team. I think they beat them earlier in the year anyway. We got this. Like, we know we've been playing well this NCAA tournament. But with all that community and all that storied history, like the hundreds of great players that have come through that program and been coached by Coach K, that have won championships, won Players of the Year, been drafted really high, all of those guys are got to be sitting there like, you can't mess this up. You can't mess this up for that guy.
they're going to be at the game.
I'm sure. Yeah, a bunch of them.
Like I know I was listening to ESPN today. I mean, they're all coming. They're all coming. So yeah, this game it's on another level in terms of importance. And if you're a if you're a sports fan, this is everything you could ever want in a game, regardless of whether or not you're interested in both sides, regardless of whether or not you're interested in either side. Like if you enjoy sports at all, this is going to be a game where you are going. I mean, you think NBA games are exciting and players are playing hard. The amount of effort that is going to be put forth on Saturday night by those players is going to be something that, I mean, it happens. You play 100% all the time, but there is going to be something else inside of these guys that gives them extra for this game. I mean, every loose ball, there's going to be like everybody in the stadium is going to dive for that ball. It's going to be so entertaining, regardless of if you're a sports fan or not. This game is going to be like must see TV. Like I don't want to like oversell it, but I don't think I can oversell it.
Yeah, I just hope this game isn't a blowout either way.
Yes, that's the one thing that could spoil it.
I think it will be tight. These two teams have played each other. I mean, they're both good teams, both playing Super Bowl. Yeah. That's pretty obvious. They're both in the Final Four. Like this game should not be a blowout.
Oh yeah. So another thing too is Greeny had read out. He had made one of his analysts look up seat prices. So I think they said the cheapest seat was like somewhere around $380 or something. But they said the most expensive seat, courtside, which obviously, but they said it was about $32,000, right? So in my head,
the year of tuition on one game.
So in my head, I'm sitting there, and the thought came across my mind. I was like, is there any sporting event at all that I would pay $32,000 for? And my whopping conclusion was no. After about 3 seconds of
like with your current income.
Well, just in my head, I was like, if the Raiders were playing a Super Bowl in my backyard and I had to pay that much money, I would leave my house.
If I could roll out of bed and be courtside at the Raiders Super Bowl game.
For $32,000, I still wouldn't do. I'd leave my house. Like I'm watching it elsewhere on a TV screen. There is not a chance in the world I'm spending $32,000 on a sporting event. There's no way.
They build a stadium right next to the dump in Roseville, just right up right next to your backyard. All you gotta do is hop a fence and you're in.
Yeah, I still wouldn't do it. I still wouldn't do it. I don't know what that number would be. Like genuinely, I mean, God bless you if you have disposable income of $32,000. You're doing something that not a lot of people can. But I'm trying to think of the number, because for me, like the Raiders, like that team more than any other team has my heart. So I'm trying to think of if they were in the Super Bowl, like what price point would I go? That's not worth it. And I don't. Maybe it depend. One, it would depend on how much money I have at the time. But like I'm thinking like $5,000 would be the most I think put down. I think anything above that would just be too much.
Yeah, I was thinking if that range of once you get into double digits in the thousands of dollars for a single event, we're talking max 5 hours that you're going to be sitting there. Right. And then that money is gone. That's going to be sitting in my cart for a little bit. I'm not pressing that complete checkout for a while.
I'm going to my brokerage guy. I'm going, hey, what are the stocks looking like? Hey, as soon as it jumps, pull out that money.
Because you got to think about the opportunity cost for that. We're going to get a little economic here, but the opportunity cost that you could put $10,000. So the $32,000 that person spent on that courtside tickets, how much money they could have made investing it somewhere else instead of just, and then it's gone
into the
maybe it went towards they're taking a customer or something out to the game, and that led to a big time partnership and a big time deal. Hopefully that's the case for a monetary sense. But if it is just a one-time thing that you're going to this game for $32,000, which I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because I totally want to do that, not spend that much money, but go and sit courtside at one of these huge games.
Oh yeah.
Which I personally would want to 100% sit courtside than sit in the first row of a football game. I think it's a way better. I feel like it's a way better experience.
I agree.
I might want to sit in a 100%. Box of a football game, which would be pretty sick. But I think sitting courtside at a basketball game of any kind would be way better.
Yes, I agree. Well, we've almost sat courtside at one of the Kings games. I mean, we were only a few rows back.
Yeah, it was like 5 rows back. I mean, that's a Kings game, though.
I know, but I guess just in perspective. Yeah, no, I agree. Just know when you're watching the game, everybody's sitting courtside. Either they no longer have a house,
or they know someone,
or they have some disposable income. Because man, $32,000—that is a lot of money. I was filing my taxes the other day. I don't even think I made $30,000 last year.
I have to save up a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not at my career job yet, so it's like one of those things. And then college student paying for everything, so it's like I don't even think I made that much money last year.
And the person that spent that $32,000, they're probably not in a relationship anymore. Could you imagine rationalizing that to your significant other? Yeah, I know we got a baby on the way, but I got to go to this game. I have to go.
The North Carolina game. I mean, we'll make ends meet.
What's a college fund? Like, what even is that? That's not important.
Exactly. Like the kid will understand. Not now. But when he's working to pay for his college tuition that I spent on this game, he'll understand.
Oh, he'll appreciate it.
He'll appreciate everything that I did for him or her. So, oh man, yeah. I heard that number and went, never in a million years. Never in a million years. I would have to be making $1 million a year let me put it this way. And Greeny has a joke all the time about rich people, just saying like, especially like somebody like LeBron, he was like, if he dropped $1,000 on the street, he wouldn't even bother to turn around. Same sort of thing with like me and these tickets. I would have to have the amount of money that if I dropped $32,000 on the ground, I wouldn't think to pick it up. That would be sort of where I would be if I would shell out that kind of money. So
I mean, that's like, we're talking like buying a Tesla, driving it for one night, and then lighting it on fire the next day.
Yeah. Honestly.
Like that's sort of the realm that we're in right now.
It's like,
I don't even think $1 million. If you make $1 million a year, I still don't think you're in the right space to afford that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you one day when I get there.
But okay.
But oh man. So
I'll be sitting right next to you, so you won't even have to tell me.
That's true. Speaking of absurdity, IGN released a list that is Pixar's movies worst to best, and they titled it From Toy Story to Turning Red. Pixar has given us 25 movies in just a little over 25 years. Naturally, we decided to rank them Yep. All right. So
I like these talks.
I do too. This list is terrible. I'm going to put it out there right now, in my opinion. So I'll just give you in groups of 5. Do you want me to start at the bottom or start at the top?
Go bottom to top.
Bottom. All right. So here we go. So from 25 all the way to 21, we have Cars 3, Cars 2, Finding Dory all the way down at 23.
Woo.
Monsters University
Oh,
at
what?
22, and The Good Dinosaur at 21. So for me, my so I full disclosure, there are only 2.5 movies that I haven't seen on this list. And 2 of them are actually Cars 2 and Cars 3. I love
I've seen Cars 2.
You have seen Cars 2.
I did not tune into Cars 3.
Okay. I believe Cars 3 did way better than Cars 2 in terms of critics and fans. So I'm surprised that Cars 3 is actually put there. But for me, my least favorite Pixar movie has always been The Good Dinosaur. So I put that at the very end. So that being above any of the other movies. So what do you think?
Do you want to do like the full list?
Yeah, we can do the full list. I've got the full list.
Because like you, I think The Good Dinosaur is definitely down there. I'm fine with Cars. I think Cars 2 should be last. Finding Dory and Monsters U should not be that low. Yeah,
so let me move up the list on this one. So I'll go from 20 to 16. So starting at 20, we have Brave. Which that one was interesting to be at 20. Cars, they have the first Cars all the way down at 19, which is
fine with that.
Insane to me. Onward at 18.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Turning Red at
Still
17.
Haven't seen that.
And Luca at 16.
Uh-huh.
So I just watched Luca for the first time like 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And I just recently saw Turning Red. Cars is better than Brave, Onward, Turning Red, and Luca.
Oh, you think?
So, oh yeah, I 100% agree. I love the first Cars. At least
but
this is my
we were
opinion.
kids when Cars came out.
I still think Cars is great. I really do. I enjoy Cars. I think it's at least in a top 15 for Pixar movies.
It's just different because I think Cars is a definitely lighter tone than Brave for sure. Onward, I think, like I said, I haven't seen it, but I think it's a little deeper
Onward's
material
all right.
that they're playing with.
Onward's all right.
Still haven't seen Turning Red, and then Luca, it's all right.
It was okay.
Middle pack for Pixar.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're getting to the meat of the list. We're getting to the top 15. Now, I recently just watched this movie, and ain't no way I would have put it at 15. But then I started reading the movies above it and went, oh, okay, maybe. So from 15 to 11, we have Soul at 15. That was low on the list, and I thought that was a bit surprising. The next one that I thought was a little low on the list was the second Incredibles. I thought that was a little low. I think that movie gets too much hate. 13 is A Bug's Life.
Oh, that's too high.
I think A Bug's Life is too high as well. I loved the movie as a kid, but I don't think it holds up as well as
that's nostalgia right there. They're not thinking an actual quality. There's no way that Bug's Life is better than Soul.
I agree. And then number 12 is Toy Story 4, which I was fine with being around there. This is where the list lost all credibility for me, because to leave Ratatouille outside of the top 10 doesn't make any sense to me. They put it at 11.
Is this like a group that makes this list, or is it one dude? Because if it's one dude, then I can give him the benefit of the doubt.
It says we. It doesn't say like a specific person. It literally says we in the caption.
Maybe they're like an older demographic, and they were a little older when Ratatouille came out. But still, then I think Soul would kind of relate to. I think that's an older demographic movie because it's about like mortality.
So what do we think about the 15 through 11? My opinion is like Ratatouille being outside the top 10 is just bad.
Yeah, we talked about Bug's Life. I think Soul should be moved up. I think Ratatouille can be moved up. I think Toy Story 4 is fine there. Yeah. Incredibles 2, I think, is fine there.
I would have put it a little bit higher. I mean, I would have probably put it at around 12 or 13. All right, so top 10. We'll start at 10 and move up to 6. So Bree did not agree with this one. Toy Story 2 is at 10.
Okay.
Toy Story 2 is at 10. Up is 9. 8 is Finding Nemo.
Ooh,
Yeah.
disrespect.
7 is Monsters Inc. That one cut me deep. And then 6 is Coco.
Oh, okay. I mean, I liked Coco, but I don't know if it's a heavy hitter like that.
I agree. So
I don't know if it's like that.
my mom and sister love Coco. Bree loves Coco, and I admit it was a cool movie, and it was a beautiful movie.
Mm-hmm.
But in no universe am I going to put it ahead of Finding Nemo or Monsters Inc. or even Toy Story 2.
I put it above Toy Story 2.
So that's Bree's favorite.
That's Bree's favorite?
Yeah, not my favorite, but that was Bree's favorite.
Okay. Mine's 3 for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. 3 is the best. Okay, so yeah, but Monsters Inc. It being ahead of Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo and Up for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not cool. All right, so top 5.
This better be good.
Inside Out is 5.
It's not good. It's already
not good. I agree. Everybody loved Inside Out when it came out. I remember the hype around that movie being like the greatest thing ever. It's not. Number 4 is Toy Story.
The OG.
The OG. And then they have the top 3. At 3, they have Wall-E.
Oh. No.
So you're not a Wall-E fan.
No, I wouldn't put it that high.
Number 2, they have Toy Story 3. And then at number 1, they have The Incredibles.
Ooh. Yeah,
So,
I can see it.
For me, I think they got 1 and 2 correct.
Yeah. In any order.
Yeah, I think for me those are interchangeable. Those 2 to me are definitely their best movies, in my opinion. Inside Out being in the top 5, no, can't have it. Cannot have it.
Oh, you'd move it down?
I'd move Inside Out outside of the top 5 for sure.
Wow, I'd leave it.
Really?
Yeah.
But I thought you said, as soon as I said Inside Out, you said the list isn't good.
Because I thought it'd be higher.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Really? So you liked it that much?
So I'd move Wall-E out for sure. There's no way that's the 3rd best Pixar movie.
I really like Wall-E.
There is no way. They must have not watched the 3rd act of that movie.
The 3rd act of that movie.
When the humans get in. I would move Coco down the list a little bit. I'd move Soul and Ratatouille up.
So what would be your 5? What would be your top 5? I just read you the whole list.
I mean, initial thoughts, I think Finding Nemo, Monster Inc. just got to be in there somewhere. They got to be in there.
I know, right?
So I think I'd go.
Go ahead.
I'd move Inside Out and Wall-E out of the top 5, and I put Finding Nemo and Monsters Inc. in. And then I think Ratatouille jumps up to 6 for me. I think it's just outside because I love that movie.
Yeah, so read me your 5 to 1.
I didn't put them in order.
Oh, okay. What is in your 5 in totality?
Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Toy Story 3, and The Incredibles.
Okay, so I think for me, The Incredibles and Toy Story 3 would be like 1 and 2. I think Toy Story definitely belongs in there.
I think to push that out. That was the first.
Yeah, I think Monsters Inc. definitely belongs in there. Okay, so we pulled in our lovely girlfriends because we have settled. Sam and I have settled on our list. It was actually identical, as we just read. So they were out of the room when we read them. So Sam, if you could just give them what we would put in our top five, not in any particular order per se, but the ones that we would say have to be in the top five.
Yeah, that have to be in, and if aren't in, are wrong. The Incredibles, Toy Story 3,
Yes.
Toy Story, Monsters Incredible, and Finding Nemo.
Monsters Incredible.
Monsters
So,
Incredible. Sorry.
so I'm gonna give you.
I
I'm gonna
abbreviated
tell you
it.
right now, the 5 movies, Sam, that we have on our list, 0 are in Bree's.
We got 2 are in Jenna's list.
So Jenna's list is only 40% correct, while Bree's is 0% correct.
Wait, what
Okay, so Jenna, you go first since you took the longest.
Yes.
Have Brie go first.
You go first. You narrowed it down. That's all right.
You got it?
This is a safe space.
No, it's not. Jason.
What is that supposed to mean?
I chose Ratatouille, Inside Out, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., and Up.
Okay, so you and Bree have a few similarities.
So maybe your lists are
No,
They're
Sam and I
different.
were identical. We nailed it.
okay.
All right, so go with yours.
Mine were Up, Ratatouille, Wall-E, Coco, and Toy Story 2.
Wait, what was the middle one?
Wally, Coco.
Wally.
Wally? For real?
Yeah. Wow.
So they both said the same thing. Sam is also not a huge fan of Wally either.
You guys deserve each other.
Aw.
We're pro Wally.
Okay, how is Ratatouille not in your guys' list?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Okay, Sam. If I'm being truthful, if I'm making the list, Ratatouille for me is probably like 6, 7, or 8, somewhere in there. It's like right outside the top.
Yeah, that's why I said I thought it would be 6. It's just hard. They're
And
all
Up?
great movies.
Yeah, they're all
Up?
great.
It's
That
up
makes
then
me
it's up.
cry every time.
He cried during Up. How
Are
do you
these-
say?
These
Are-
are in order.
These are in order.
Yeah.
Okay, so she put Up as her number 1 movie.
Number 1.
Ratatouille or Up would be those would be 1 and 2 for me too.
Ratatouille is my
And
number 2.
then Inside Out.
So what is it about Coco? Because Sam and I wouldn't. I don't even. Would you put it in your 10? I wouldn't put it in my top 10.
Yeah,
How
it'd
was it
probably be
then?
like 11 to 13 range.
So yeah, so you love Coco. My family loves Coco. What the heck is it about Coco?
It's just a really cute, feel-good movie. It's also, I think it was a leader in diversity for some of Disney's movies. So it was just cool to see like something different and a different culture, and it just, Miguel is so cute.
Miguel.
So we're just
Agreed.
racist, is what we're talking about here.
That's what you're saying.
Evidently.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. I thought Encanto, and I know it's not Pixar, but I guess in terms of those movies felt similar to me, similar enough. I thought Encanto was way better.
I think Coco's better.
I think
Than
Coco's better than
Encanto.
Encanto. Of the
Mhm.
ones
I
that we
think-
watched recently, Encanto is my favorite though.
I think Coco's a better movie, but Encanto has better music.
Really? I think Soul is better than both of them.
Soul's
I
really
I
good.
agree. What?
Soul was really good. I just liked Encanto better than Soul.
I like Soul
But I
better
thought-
than Encanto.
Soul was better than Luca. I almost want to say Soul was better than Raya. Raya.
It was Raya.
Yeah.
I don't even
Oh,
know what
yeah.
that is.
It's a Disney movie.
Yeah, Soul was great. I thoroughly enjoyed Soul. I went into because we hadn't watched like the 5 most recent movies, and I went into it hoping that Raya was going to be the best, and it was like one of the worst out of the 5.
You know, I would even compare Soul to Inside Out. It just had a very similar
Yes,
vibe to me.
Yeah.
but I liked Soul way more than Inside Out. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah, I think of Soul as more, I think it's catered more towards like an older demographic
Mhm.
than Inside Out is. Inside Out definitely is too, because it's got some way deeper themes going on, but there's also I think just because the main character is, well, the main subject is sort of that kid to teen range, that it's like you can pretty relate to that if you're younger than we were when it came out, even
But
or
I just liked Inside Out. I think it's mostly because of like the field I'm going to. Like I want to go into like self-regulation and sensory regulation, and that goes with emotions. And that's such a good way to teach kids how to start to label their emotions and like coping skills with it. So that's why I like Inside
She
And
made
the
us sound
angry
a lot.
sadness
She
is
made our
okay.
show sound a lot smarter than it
Out.
actually.
No.
I was gonna say that
But-
Inside Out just has a very much coming of age feel to it, and
Yeah.
like every adult can relate to the coming of age thing, which is why I think it's a great movie, and I think you are out of your mind.
So then why is Ratatouille so high up?
Oh my God. The humor,
what does
the
that have to do
plot
with it?
line, the drama,
The
the
drama,
mystery,
the chef,
the-
the evil chef.
the
The
who-
love
who-
story.
yes, the family, the unity, that I need to be on my own.
Again,
That's my
also
vibe.
a coming of age story,
Mhm.
just with rats.
How to deal with critics, literally. Interesting.
Also,
How are you
showed
going to deal
that,
with me being critical of your crappy list? Because you're leaving out the 5 best Pixar movies.
Ouch.
Man, it's just terrible.
Do you even like Jenna?
I was talking to you.
You want to be my boyfriend? I'll kick you out. I'll find a new roommate.
I mean, look, I'm
cook
much
my own
I'm
dinner,
much more
Vanilla.
comfortable insulting your list than Jenna's. Jenna is, yeah, I can't. She's scary. I have to be nice to her. I don't have to be nice to you.
Okay, I'll be scary later. Watch how it plays
Oh.
out for you.
Just wait till Jason tells you he's spending $32,000 on basketball tickets.
Oh yeah, so I had mentioned to him that the most expensive price ticket for the game happening on Saturday, the basketball game, is $32,000, and I was saying if the basketball game was being played in my backyard, I still wouldn't purchase a ticket to go to that game. I would leave. Well, I mean, Jenna, like I had set the price point at the most that I would want to spend, or the thing that I think I could get myself to spend on a ticket to a game would be like $5,000. Anything above that, there ain't no way. There ain't no way.
What if you won the lottery?
Well, if I win the lottery, then I'll just buy wherever they're playing.
Or buy the
I'll buy the
stadium.
stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, $5,000
What did you
is still-
say?
Well, I wanted to get into, like, if we're talking about the semi absurd prices for sporting events, I was thinking like a Raiders Super Bowl game would be the only thing that would get me to maybe shell out that kind of money.
That would make
And I'm
sense.
talking maybe.
See, I don't have to worry about that because the Bears are never going to lose.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to episode 126. We really do appreciate it. We hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy the basketball game and be ready for our guest next week. We're going to try to bring Ben on the show and talk about Augusta National coming up next week. So we hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and we will see you all next episode.
Paper cut.